Hello, hello. Welcome to K.I.S.S. Recovery 101. I'm Bridge Sky, and I'm the host tonight. If anyone's new and listening to this show, this is an interactive live show. We're live right now, so please feel free to say hi, hello, post questions, post comments, and also if you're new, K.I.S.S is a fun acronym. Anyone who knows what the Keep It Simple saying, there's an extra S for the stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. And I loved that because I was one of those overthinkers, and even though they kept saying, easy does it, and one day at a time, that didn't work for me in the beginning because I'm an overthinker. And so when I heard someone say what K.I.S.S was, it really, I like to say, dumbed it down for me, and it made me realize I don't need to make this so complicated. So it's simple. It's easy. It's not simple necessarily. So, okay. Well, anyway, enough about me. I want to introduce my fantastic guest who is so busy and all over the place. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jason Rudeen, a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me is that I haven't felt the need to touch a drink or a drug since July 23rd, 2016. And I'm the co-host of the Way Out podcast and a member of the Minnesota Recovery Advocacy Project. And I used to do a lot of volunteer work for where you work at Minnesota Recovery Connection. Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. And so, yes, you're a busy person. Let's talk about, do you mind if we run into, I guess we could back up. Let's say, how did you find yourself getting into, so I did post the link for the Way Out podcast. So there's like a website, and you're like on all the platforms, and there's lots of episodes. I had you send me like your favorite episode, and I listened to that one with the judge. Whoa, Judge? Like, you gotta tell me how that happened. But how did you even get involved with the Way Out podcast? And how long has that been going for?
I think he started in 2015. Charles Lavore is my good friend. I actually was speaking at Anthony Lewis Center in Blaine. It's like an adolescent treatment center when I was really early in recovery with a friend of mine. And this lady was also speaking with us that I had never met before. And then she told me, she said my story, and it was amazing. And then I was like, talking to her afterwards, and she said she had just did this podcast. So she sent me the link to that. It was the Way Out podcast. And I, at the end, he says, if you want to share your story, and he gives the email address, which is share@wayoutcast.com. If you want to share your story.
Plug it up.
Yeah. We'll get you on there, because your story matters. But yeah, I just felt compelled to share with him. So I emailed that email and set up a date, and I went in to his place, to his at-home studio, shared my story. I was really new. I was really fresh. So it was like every crappy traumatic thing that ever happened to me in like maybe 5 minutes of like what recovery's like. I was super green and had a lot of work ahead of me at that time. And then, I don't know. That was like episode 31 in our catalog. So
wow.
I was super fresh at that time. And now, you fast forward a year and a half later, he was coming up on his 100th episode, and he really wanted to revamp the show, change the format a bit, bring on a co-host. And he wanted to start doing these other things, episodes that were like power topics, common stumbling blocks, or, just common topics that a lot of people could relate to and have experiences to share on. And I was like, say what? In my comment on his post, and then he like private messaged me and asked me if I would be willing to do it. And I just remember my sponsor telling me, if it's something that could potentially be good for you, and it's something that could potentially be good for others, and it's not something that could be detrimental to you or anybody else, then your program tells you have to say yes. Mm-hmm. So everything in my body said, no, you're not qualified, but my program said that I need to say yes. So I'm grateful I did. It's been a wild ride. It's been a few years, 4 years, I think, maybe more, that I've been doing this with them. We got 279 episodes published at this point. And it's just, I learned so much doing it. It really has strengthened my recovery. It's been a big blessing and really built my network up with some amazing people. So,
well, and that's the key. I think for me, in my darker days, I was so isolated, and like the people that were in my circle, family, friends, whatnot, just didn't get me at all. And so I couldn't talk about, they didn't want to hear about what was going on with me. And so that stuff I kept inside. And it's podcasts, and it's Minnesota Recovery, like, it's programs that, we need to talk about it, because I've been going to meetings since I was 21. Okay. But if you want to do the math, that's a long time. 19 years. That for some reason, just that one path wasn't working for me. And I think a big piece was, the anonymity. I misunderstood it in the sense of, I thought that I had to always like keep anonymity and not talk about it. But really, anonymity is meant to be in the meetings. It's not meant to, I can't share my progress, and I can't share and build friendships and actually talk about it. And now that's all I want to do is talk about it. That's why I started this podcast. I want to talk about how amazing recovery is, and making more and more circles of friends that I can really count on and trust, and vice versa. And I found you. I mean, I went to Blaine back in 2012. So back then, though, again, I didn't know anyone. I didn't talk to anyone. I was so in my own world. And I think that the more I talk about that anxiety and isolation, and I had severe depression, the more I talk about the ugly stuff, the more I feel like someone out there who also has those things going on can feel okay to talk about it too. Mm-hmm. It takes one person, reaching out to one person and making one connection. That's what I needed to start building some trust, and to start getting some of the darkness out of myself. But anyways, so that I was curious. So you had something pop up on your news feed. Gosh, what date was that? Thursday? It was the Recovery Revolution. It was a YouTube. There's multiple people on there. How did you get hooked up with that?
Okay, so Recovery Revolution started. It was, this guy J.R. Weaver. He created that page, and he just started it because he was trying to, strengthen his own recovery or whatever. Try to use social media as a positive tool for change, and it blew up. That's a God thing, right? It's he's got over 230,000 people on that page or something like that. Mm-hmm. But the podcast is, I think, somewhat of a newer thing, and that's also got its own page now, so you could look up Recovery Revolution Live on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll find it. But he's got a good team of people that all work together to make that show a thing, Mm-hmm. Brett is the guy who does the production stuff, so he's the guy that's doing sound effects and and doing the computer things with it. But he's got his own podcast, Recovery Survey. But yeah, JR, I met him at Mobilize Recovery, so which we'll talk about later when we get into the advocacy portion of this. But that guy was the one that plugged me into it. He told me about the page. I joined the page, and he's got an episode coming out soon of The Way Out. I interviewed him already. So it's been like I said, I just get to build this awesome network of people, right? I've met some amazing individuals in this process just by showing up, and doing the next thing. And a lot of it comes from the spirit of learning, because I want to learn more. So I'll take certain trainings or classes, or, I filled out the application to go to Mobilize Recovery, and I didn't ever expect to get picked to be an in-person participant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I remember last year I applied too, and I got selected to be an online participant, but then it was from Tuesday, or it was during the week, and it was during regular hours of the day, 8 to 4 or whatever. And I was well, I can't participate in that because
you have a job,
and my job is super demanding, right? Mm-hmm. So with the hours. So it just worked out this year where it was like they were doing it in person again. So it was the Thursday to Sunday thing, or Thursday to Monday. And I happened to be, another gift of recovery in a financial position to pull the trigger on that invitation. And I could afford to spend 4 nights for a hotel and buy round trip airfare. And dude, it was a trip. I've never been in a financial position to do that in my whole life. Even if I had a bunch of stacks, you know what I mean? Because I was hustler. I was always pissing it away.
Hustle, dude.
Yeah, I was pissing it away on frivolous stuff, and I wasn't saving. I wasn't paying off debt. I was just creating more debt and more damage in my life before. So I never had money to do shit like that. And if I even had the opportunity, I probably would have not wanted to do it, because then I would have missed out on a bunch of business, you know what I mean? Because I want to be like running shit or something.
Okay. Well, you already said a couple of good things that I definitely want to touch on, because for me, one of the things that I changed, so nothing changes if nothing changes. One of the things that I changed about myself was to be really action-based. Stop thinking, just do. Do what was suggested. And it was all fear, I was so afraid of failing, and I was so afraid of what people would think, and I so cared about, like, what my job, all these things that just didn't even matter, because at the end of the day, when I got to my lowest point, I literally lost everything that even mattered. And it took that point, that desperate point, to realize none of those fucking people matter. They don't care about me. Why do I care so much about what they think about, And so, like, it took that to really get out of myself. It actually got me into this angry mode where I don't care what you think. I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I was all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
I was angry bridge. But I just, as soon as I felt fear, it was like this anger inside me was like, I'm so tired of feeling like this. Like, what am I afraid of? And so I would force myself through that anxiety. I would force myself through that stress and just do it. And for me back then, even just going to meetings where I didn't know anybody at a new place, I'm a few minutes late, like everything before would stop me from, I'd have all the reasons. And then when I was angry and motivated and doing all the action-based stuff, like, that's how I conquered that fear. Let's take a look at the chat. I do see some interactions.
Check it out. But yeah, to your point, that's essential, man. Step through fear. You have to. In the beginning, that's the name of the game.
Yes.
You can't find your solid ground in this shit unless you're willing to get uncomfortable. You have to expose your shit to people you don't know, and take a chance, and that's the scariest thing in the world. Sometimes the scariest thing in the world is just walking through the door,
Power off.
Power off.
That's our cue. We got to turn that back on. That's the thing. Like, it's still uncomfortable at times, but way less uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And now I more see it as like a challenge. Like, it's a way for me to up my level on life. And because I know, if I conquer it, it just builds that little bit more confidence that I have. And I can keep going.
Well, and the more you do that and take those actions despite the way you feel, and then you experience a positive result, you get a benefit from it, and it's the kind that sticks with you. It's not the kind that wears off right away. Like when you do drugs, you get elated for a short time and then you crash and it's worse than it was before you took the shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the difference between false pride and real pride. That sticks with you, and you can feel it for a long time. When you have those spiritual experiences as a result of stepping through fear, you start to recognize that uncomfortable feeling as an opportunity for something, like it starts to take on a more positive connotation, I think, in your mind, and where you're more compelled to take those actions because that this shit benefits you. It feels good, and it feels good for a long time. And it can help others, and there's so many pieces of that, but yeah, you don't learn that until you personally experience it.
I'm gonna call you out. You
What?
ready? Is it true? Have I seen you posting some stuff from Brene Brown, her new book?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, this is that?
Yep.
Okay, so I've been reading that, and I love that she says, because, they lay out all the different types of emotions, right? And how important it is to start to recognize, first label it, recognize them, and name them, because this made so much sense to me. Before, every time I felt stressed out or adrenaline or anything, I was labeling it anxiety. Boom. Oh, there goes my anxiety. And then back in the day, it got real bad to panic attacks and all kinds of things. But it really is a mind over matter thing. And I love that she points out, those same symptoms or those same things that are triggered in my body are also the same things that can be are similar to excitement. And I feel like that's where my mind, I was able to change my thinking when I start to feel stressed out, when I start to feel nervous, or, now I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to do this thing.
Right.
And so it's really just gauging, for me, the healing piece that really has sunk in is it's all about self-reflection and really doing an inside job and really looking at why I'm having these things that I'm thinking, why I want to do these things, why I want to react this way rather than respond. Why? Asking myself why I'm doing that, because that's not how I want to be,
Right.
And that's where I was able to, because I really wanted to change, but I wasn't changing anything. And I really had to start with just looking at my thinking, because that is what stimulates all the, the body reactions to emotions and feelings. But
Right. But you said you were going to call me out. What was that about? What do you mean?
you read Brene Brown.
Oh, hell yeah. I was like,
I was like, you gonna admit it?
I mean, you want to call it a call out. I'm damn proud that I found Brene Brown, that I've dug into her work.
Did you read books?
She helped me a lot. Her work.
I thought I was a nerd alone. I like big
No.
books, and I can't help it.
Her word. You just made me think of that.
I like
that
big
song.
books, and I cannot lie.
Yeah, exactly.
But can't deny.
That's exactly what went on my head, for real. All right, so I was just thinking, I don't know. I guess maybe some people would think that's something to be embarrassed about, but not me, man.
I used to be called a nerd a lot.
I'm grateful for her work that she's done.
Yes.
I've learned a hell of a lot from Brene Brown's work. I created the hashtag My Yodas. She's my Yoda.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you
I
type
love
that hashtag in, you'll probably see all sorts of posts from my entire recovery, tons and tons of them. Anytime I post a quote or a meme that's a Brene Brown related thing, boom. I'm like, My Yoda.
Oh man, see, I liked you before, but now we could be best friends.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
BFF.
Okay. So let's see. We got some Facebook users. Love you, Jason. Ooh, Ashley Grimes.
Yeah.
She was on the
She's one of the hosts of the
from
Recovery Revolution.
Yeah. Hi, Ashley. She said
She's also the president of the Florida NAMI.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nami, really?
Yep.
She said, I used to hate being uncomfortable. Now discomfort is where I live. It is growth. I am a better person when I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was saying she
flash
just
that.
filled in for that podcast recently, and that was the first time she ever did a podcast at all.
Really?
And she said it was the most uncomfortable thing, but then she went out to her mailbox a couple days later, and there was a microphone. That dude Brett,
Yeah.
the recovery survey guy, the one that does the production piece for Recovery Revolution Live, he sent her a microphone, and she was saying, I think she posted something about it. She said that it was a really awesome feeling to find that in her mailbox and have it made her feel like her voice matters.
Yes.
And now she's a new fixture. She's a co-host every week on it. It's pretty cool.
I'm so glad I gave her props earlier. I'm like, yeah, shout out to the ladies.
Yeah, way to step up, Ash.
She's a natural. I would not have known that. You just put her on blast.
She's
new like me.
She's got a good voice for radio.
Yeah, strong voice. And we need more of that. Okay, I'm going to play that clip
Do
that
it.
I mentioned to you. Did you get a chance to
I
listen to it
could
at all?
have, but I like to have my responses be fresh.
Okay.
So I didn't want to listen to it until we were live.
There's our first alarm. Okay, you ready? So
I'm
it's
ready.
Will Smith. I find his words very inspiring. And I love one of the big things that he talks about is he's not like this great person, right? Like he's not the funniest person, he's not the smartest person, but what he is really, good at is he works hard. And he will outwork anyone. And I kind of relate to that in the sense of like, for my growth, a lot of people say, oh, you do so much and you're such an inspiration. And really, I haven't done anything special. The only thing I do is what most people don't, and that's I'm consistent. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I say I'm going to show up, I show up.
And that's, integrity, right?
Yeah.
It's something that we didn't do when we were fucking up. Yeah. And now that we're in recovery, we learned that integrity is important, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So there you go. Now you show up, you say yes.
Bluetooth pairing.
You do what you say you're going to do so people can depend on you.
It's progress.
We love that lady.
My verbal speaker. She's my tech assistant.
She's like, you're walking into amateur hour tonight, and I was laughing so hard. I'm like, nah.
I'm like, this is how we play the clip. You can't talk during the clip.
All right, I'll shut up now.
No, okay. So if anyone wants to, I'm only going to play 2 minutes of the clip, but if anybody wants the full clip, you just, it's at Growth Factory is the YouTube channel, and it's why you need to fail to succeed. Will Smith Motivation 2021. So I love this whole clip. It's like 11 minutes, but I'm just going to play the first 2 minutes, and we'll talk about that. Okay. All right, you ready? Okay.
Do it.
No beatboxing during the clip. Justin was like, oh, beatbox during the clip. Okay, here we go.
Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be.
Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure, and they use that the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. We grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because we were becoming right. Something greater.
For me, it's hugely important to maintain just positive, loving energy. Just choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day, we are choosing that's not in our own best interest. Fail early, fail often, fail forward. It's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure.
And you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that like to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
Did you love that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps again, and I've listened to it like 30 times just to make sure that I don't get emotional on air.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I got goosebumps too. One thing I'll say about that, and it's really, really simple. I think most of my life, as shit piled upon shit, and I took more hits to my ego, more hits to my own pride, and self-loathing kept growing and building over the years. I had a lot of shame, and all that stuff was the stuff that at one time it drove my addiction. It it convinced me to push everybody that mattered out of my life, push everybody away, and it made me want to kill myself. And recovery flipped the script. Recovery turned that same stuff into things that I'm grateful for. Those things make me valuable around here. Those things make me be in a unique position to help somebody else who's been through the same stuff, because I can show them that you can come out on the other side, and that's crazy to me. I mean, it's still crazy to me, but it's so true. It's like all that stuff, it was all gifts. And I think a guy told me, I can't remember who told me this, but he said that history will continue to repeat itself until you finally learn the lesson that was intended for you to learn in the first place. So every time you go through something hard and you don't learn the lesson, that's going to manifest itself again at some point in your life. And I know in my life that's been the case. So I'm like, all right, that shit blew my mind. And he talks about it, he articulates it very well, that you just need to be willing to fail and not give up, And you kind of said that before we listened to the clip about just time and consistency, right? Like showing up and doing the work. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and 100% it was for me. I needed to get outside of myself and feel useful. And let's go back to Brene Brown. So I didn't understand, she talks about, I didn't understand the difference between shame and guilt. So guilt is, I made a mistake. Shame is, I am a mistake. And when I heard her speak on that, it still makes me feel emotional because it still makes me feel emotional because I lived in so much shame. And I really felt that I was a mistake. And those people that were around me, they were not people in recovery. They were not people that understood addiction or anything about me. They just thrived on my failures. And I literally got so low and such in a buried darkness that I really felt that I shouldn't be here. And it wasn't until, someone took the time, my sponsor, took the time, even after all my reoccurrences and reuses, she never gave up on me. And she really showed me what unconditional love is. And that's why, I don't believe blood is necessarily family. I'm adopted, so that's never been relevant for me, except for my twin brother, and we're actually good. But, for me, family, I've made my own family in this recovery community. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and what I speak about, because I believe it. I want to give people, they say people that have been through so much shit, they don't, I don't want anyone to ever feel as low as I've felt. I want them to know that they're not alone. And I want to give them that opportunity, give them a hand, even if it's just my little hand, to say, I'm here with you. I'm going to do this thing with you. Wherever you're at, I'm going to meet you where you're at, and let's do it together, because I think that shame is she also talks about how shame grows. You take a petri dish and you put lies, judgments, and there's another thing. That grows shame, but the antidote to shame is empathy. And so that's why I love being a peer support specialist, and I love working I'm all about service, but for me, I just like to do service within with my peeps, because I feel like that's the most benefit for me. I feel like the most useful. And so I feel like guilt is okay. That means you're a human being. It's healthy to feel guilty. You actually feel bad about the things that you've done. But shame can be a death sentence. It was a death sentence. I almost didn't make it. Right. So that's why I feel like it's so important that we keep talking about it as much as possible all over the place, and be of service to anyone struggling, anyone suffering, and anyone that wants to join us.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that cool, what is it called, the project that we need to get a team together?
I don't know. Let's see first if anybody out there had any thoughts about failure.
Well, Mahana said powerful. Mahana, he's the Rise Up Our host.
Oh, yeah, Frogtown, right?
Yes, Frogtown Community Radio.
Hello, good sir.
And my thing just decided to have a mind of its own. So, okay, go away. I don't know what I just did there. I accidentally clicked on something. Okay. Mohana says, powerful. Shame ruins lives and recovery saves lives. And that's all we got for interactions right now.
Say it again. They didn't hear you.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was far away. Okay. Sorry. Shame ruins lives. Recovery saves lives.
See, I got your back.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for a co-host or a tech assistant.
You're going to have to get one of those headphones with a mic so that way it just always goes where you go.
Or one of the 360 mics or fancy mics. Yeah.
You're a low ball of energy and you forget your microphone.
Moving all around the place.
Yeah, it happens.
So for anyone that's interested, I think, especially when there's a team of us, I think that, what is it called? I say like all stars, like the folks that really do have a passion for service and do have a passion for advocacy and breaking the stigma. It would be good to get a team united, and there is a way to do that. A really cool way to do that. I'm joining. Jason,
okay.
I'm going to join your team.
So here's what she wants to talk
I'm
about.
going to call you out. You're joining too.
She wants what she's talking about is the Recovery Advocacy Project. I talked about Mobilize Recovery. I kind of briefly mentioned that I met the Recovery Revolution founder, JR, at that event. And Ashley as well was there. Dude, okay, so this was badass. You go to this thing, and it's just a huge conference. It includes education, special speakers, workshops that teach you skills and give you an opportunity to kind of practice those skills together. And it's just like, wow. And then the last night they showed Tipping the Pain Scale, and almost the entire cast from that, which I say cast, but it's not like a movie. It's like a documentary. So these are real people really doing this stuff in their lives that's going on in the movie. Just amazing individuals. But, it was like a place where you can just establish so many awesome new connections. And really, that event is thrown by the people, the Voices Project, who are the Recovery Advocacy Project movement, and they're trying to get chapters started in every state. So this isn't just here. Mm-hmm. Here we need to build a team. Here we have a couple people, but you ideally want like 10 to 15 individuals to at least to be in the team. And then if you can do that, and then you set up listening sessions where you just invite anybody anybody can come on there, and it's just like a Zoom call, and you can answer some questions because we want to hear the community's voice. They're called listening sessions because we listen to the community. So you're the speaker, right? And we need your voice because we need to find out, what do you see in the community, or what do you see as a need that needs to be filled? We take that information. We compile the data, we figure out what the consensus is or what the major standout issues are. You can pick up to 3, I believe, issues. Then you create a platform with that. They can be legislative goals where we got to try to make a new law or break a new law or change something in a legislative sense. And we would work towards that. Or it could be a grassroots also, where it could be feet on the ground. Maybe we need more harm reduction services, or maybe we need, to petition some stuff, or who knows, right? Maybe we need to throw some events, fundraisers, so that we can donate money and make a difference to a certain organization that's already doing the thing that we want to do, or whatever the case is. You need enough people, because if you have a big enough team, then it's like 10 hours of your time out of a month, maybe, is what they say. A couple people could do it, but it would be like a full-time job on top of kids and another full-time job, and, everything. So if you want to check this out, no matter where you're from in the States, I think right now, I might be wrong with this number, but I think they got like 38 states or something at this point that have chapters of the Recovery Advocacy Project up and functioning and working towards positive change in their communities, locally and statewide, in different counties, or and statewide. And then So basically, you just go to recoveryvoices.com, and that's the main website for Recovery Advocacy Project, and go click on join the movement or sign up or whatever, and it'll ask you some personal information, ask you what state you're from, and it's a very quick, easy little process to sign up for it, and then you will get connected with your state's organizer, leader, whatever. Our state, it's Randy Anderson. If you don't know Randy, he's amazing. He works with the Minnesota Second Chance Coalition, trying to change things for people who are convicted felons, be it like as far as getting their rights back. So like when they pay their debt to society, they're not being haunted by it for the rest of their lives when it comes to getting jobs or doing anything for that matter. And so he's involved with that. He's also owns his own treatment center. Randy's teaches recovery coach academies and does naloxone trainings and harm reduction trainings, and the dude is super active, working on all of our behalfs. And he's the representative that you'll hear from, and then you'll hear from some of the national guys like Garrett and stuff. So it's really easy though. You just got to sign up on that website first, and you will get emailed back. You will get welcomed into the group. You will get an orientation, which I think you just do it online. It's like maybe a live Zoom thing, orientation. And then from there, then you'll get access to all the tools that are available through RAP. And it's awesome. I just signed up for it at Mobilize Recovery. So that's a really cool way that you could give back. And if we can build a team, because right now we're just trying to build a team. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Call to arms here for people.
I signed up today.
Good.
All it was my name and my email to start.
Yeah, it's easy peasy.
Right? And then you get connected with other folks that want to make changes. And like right away, I mean, when I get an opportunity, one of the things I want to talk about or I want to bring up is the freaking overdose problem that's going on. Like I'm losing people every week. It seems like every few days I'm losing young people. And actually, it doesn't even matter. It's like, ugh, don't even get started.
Lately, it does seem like it's been like every 3 or 4 days I'm hearing about another RIP.
I wouldn't have survived the shit the fentanyl and all that's out there now. I wouldn't have made it. No. I mean, I would have been gone quickly. And so like that right away. Like,
right.
So if you're looking to, make some kind of change and you want to like team up with me and Jason here and Mahana, I know he's going to say yes. That's how we get it done. And I'm a doer, and I'm a little action based, so I'm about it. Good. Okay, well, let's see if there's a couple more. Let's see. Do talk more. What's that? Oh, Mahana, see, he's already wanted to get the lowdown. So okay, and I'll probably post a link and I'll share the information. I'm really good at that. Right when I get home. Are you ready? Are you ready for the hot seat?
Sure.
Jason?
Bring it.
Oh, I got a sound effect. Okay, so we do the hot seat. So this is a segment that I'm going to ask Jason hot and heavy questions.
That sounds so wrong.
Hey, it's catchy.
And then with KISS in the name too. Like if people don't know, keep it simple, stupid.
Sex sells. But we're not going to talk about sex today. Although Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
Is that fire crackling?
Doesn't it sound hot?
It's the hot seat.
Sounds like we're in hell.
And it's hotter than shit in this room, too.
It does. It's a small closet. Shh, it's a big studio. Rocky said. He said.
It's super nice.
Okay, so, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you nervous?
No.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the sound effect. I'm mindful of these questions. Oh, and see, I gotta give my speaker a name. Sally. Sally's my speaker attendant.
She's taking a nap now.
She's powering down. You take a nap, Sally. Okay. Question number 1. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. What's something your partner or significant other would say is a big character flaw that you have presently to this day?
Oh.
Big character flaw.
Man.
Defect.
That's a good question. Boy, I don't know. I mean, I am annoying. I will get, I don't know. I'll be, all up in your bubble, touching your face, messing with your ear, messing with your hair, or whatever. Like, I can tend to be really kind of like too much for some people in that regard. So that maybe would be one thing. Like, I'll piss off her daughter, like sometimes, or her doing that stuff, but I can't help it. Like, and it's always if I'm in like a really good mood, and then I feel like messing with you, and I'm just like, I will fuck with you. Yeah, so maybe that, I don't know.
To me, that sounds like you are an attention whore. You like need attention.
I don't know.
They even say, even bad attention is attention, and
There you go.
And maybe, do you get bored easily?
I don't know if I would say that.
You just like to mess with people?
It's just the way I am. I'm like, poke, tickle, and I do that shit to everybody.
Maybe
Like,
it's your love language. Have you heard of the
maybe.
5 love languages?
I just mess around, and it can be really annoying to people, So that.
Oh, I wish I had your lady here right now.
Yeah, I do too.
Is she listening?
Well, maybe, but she might have.
You gotta call him out.
Well, yeah. If you.
What's
babe,
her name?
If you're listening, babe, throw it in the comments. You tell him. You tell everybody, because I don't
Tell
know.
on him.
I really don't know what to say about that question.
Okay. Well, I like that you just, you're honest with it, and that could be an annoying character.
It's probably one of the most annoying fucking things about being around me on a regular basis, I would think.
Okay. I love it. That's the truth. And Mahana said, and this might have been before, yes, listening, let's get something going, and you get me signed up. I'm ready to let my voice be heard more, and we can use the Rise Up Hour as a tool. Okay.
Very good.
Okay. We're going to move on to question number 2. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I think they get harder as we go along, so that one wasn't too bad, right?
All right.
Question number 2, at your lowest. Some say rock bottom. What was the worst part about it?
If you've read the big book, it talks about when it's trying to describe that lowest of lows feeling, it calls it incomprehensible demoralization. And that is what it was like. I think, it was like a tailor-made version of hell, just for me. So it fed off of my insecurities and my shame, and I learned something, because I always thought that the fact that I wanted to kill myself or hated myself meant that like I had no self-esteem and stuff like that. So I would have never thought that was self-centeredness. But I learned in recovery that self-loathing is the most extreme version of self-centeredness. So it was even worse than when you got somebody who's like super prideful and thinks their shit don't stink and they're better than everybody else. It's even worse than that. Like, you're that self-absorbed, And when they told me that, it kind of blew my mind. And then, but it made such sense, and I was surprised I never thought of that before, or that it ever occurred to me. So I mean, I would feel alone when I was around other people. I would isolate a lot, and I would drive myself insane, just trying to build up the courage to just end it. And it was a shitty place to be. And then, if things were going, what at the time I would have considered good, I don't know, where maybe I always had like a surplus, so I never wanted for nothing. I could, do as much as I wanted, anytime I wanted, of anything I wanted, and things seemingly were good with the people around me. It's still like it was all so hollow, and fragile, and it could easily be just shattered, and everything would come crumbling around me. Nothing was sustainable, nothing was meaningful, nothing felt real or lasting or meaningful. So I think for me, like that would describe what it was like, you know. And like I remember that last day, I think I was facing this case, and I had already spent all my money, and I had called in all the credit I could get because I had a lot of money out on the streets at the time when I caught my case, and I was afraid to sell any more drugs because I knew if they got me on another charge, then I was fucked, really fucked, dead to rights, like going straight to prison. And I was like, so I was at home, and they were camped out on my street, and I'm calling in my resources, and then I started, you know, making people feel like guilty because I hooked them up for free so many times or whatever. So then I'm trying to like call in favors, and it got to the point where I sold my laptop, and it was the last thing I was willing to sell. And I think I had gotten like almost 2 grams or something like that of meth, and I just put it all in a ladle. This is going to be graphic, sorry guys. But
It's an adult show.
I just put it all in a ladle, and I broke it all down and filled 2 syringes that were, you know, just all the way full, and they were sludgy, like super hard to push down. And I like specifically did it on purpose where it was like over twice as much as I would ever normally do and call like a big blast, you know. I was like, I'm going to make it worth it because this is the last shit I'm ever going to get because everybody fucking hates me now anyway, and I ain't got shit. And I can't hold a job. I didn't have any hope in myself to be able to get another job or hold one. And so I was just pretty much imagining that this is the last hurrah, you know. And I remember I did the first one, and I don't even know how I got the whole thing pushed in because halfway through it, my hand started shaking so bad, I figured I was just shredding my fucking vein. And then I get it in, and then I'm sitting there, and the sweats come, and I'm freaking spinning out. And then for some reason I thought about my ex-girlfriend, and I don't know, I got pissed off. I thought she was like banging somebody else, and I don't know why, but I grabbed the other rig and I shot that one too.
Wow.
I end up in this huge, long, super intense psychosis, probably the most terrifying fucking experience of my life. Tailor-made version of hell. I was interacting with a lot of things, and it was like it was really happening, but there was nobody there. But I was having a lot of conversations, and it kept changing. But at the end of it, it was like my kid. It was like I was, you know, mind you, this is in my imagination, like my ex-wife and her fiance and my youngest son were outside, and they were like telling me to come outside, and I was like in my garage with the door open, and I'm trying to like come out and talk to them, and then they're not coming out, you know, and I'm like freaking out. This is probably 7 in the morning. And I'm surprised I didn't get the cops called on me because I was geeking big time. I was tripping, and I ended up losing my mind in the shower. And I came out of the shower. I just grabbed this big Rambo knife, and I was gonna throw my body down on the knife. I was on my knees. I had the knife to my throat. I was gonna let my body just drop and let the knife go through my neck. And I was wailing like some kind of dying animal or something. I don't think I've ever made noises like that before or since. And I remember I kept yelling, you know, help me, help me, help me, help me. But what I meant was like, help me do this, help me kill myself, because I can't seem to like muster the courage to do this to myself. And what I got was something else. And I didn't believe in God, but I truly believe now, looking back, that was me in prayer, me in real sincere prayer, saying, help me. Like, help me have the strength to do this, help me end it. And what I got was something completely different. And, you know, in my experience since has shown me that a lot of times when I'm praying to God, I get oftentimes what, you know, he answers my prayers, but in ways that I didn't expect. So this shit was crazy. But that was, you know, to answer your question in the most longest way possible, what the worst, I guess, of it would look like was, you know, when you want to just kill yourself and you can't even do it. And that sucks. Because then you're like, all right, where do we go from here? I can't even do this right. You know?
Yeah.
I can't fucking even end it. Like, that's a shitty place to be.
Oh my gosh, well, you can't just end your answer on that. So what happens? Like, did someone hear you? I mean...
No, I actually... from what I told you, like, I think I was sitting there doing the dead animal noises and saying that for a while, but then I ended up putting the knife down and calling a guy that was my sponsor, but we had never actually did any work up to that point. He was like, a guy asked to sponsor me so I could show people. My phone said, Jason sponsor on it. His name was Jason too, and then I'd be like, see, look, I got a sponsor, but I literally never called this fucking guy. I never did anything with him, what I mean? But he had been my air quote sponsor like 2 or 3 times before that, but I called him, and it was weird because he never used to answer his phone. I did try to call him a couple times, I think, in the past, and I was like, this dude never answers anyway. But I called him, and he did answer, and I said, all right, blah 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 blah, just verbal diarrhea all over his ear hole and told him everything, and he told me I was supposed to be to work like in 45 minutes. He was like, first thing you got to do, man, is call your job and tell them you ain't showing up today.
Right.
He's like, but more than that, you need to tell them what's going on. You need to tell them what you've been doing and face the music. He said, what did he say? He said that he said our secrets keep us sick, and this stuff that you're trying to hide and keep doing and think you can live a normal life is literally like eating you up inside. And I was like, okay, I'll tell him. And that was weird too, because normally I would be like, fuck that. I ain't doing that, dude. But I was at that place where I was like, you know what? No, I will. Yep. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. I had a notepad out. I was like eager beaver, dude. I was like, tell me what to do. That was, and that you talked earlier about the gift of desperation, and that was what I got from that experience. The craziest thing was, like, after I did that, and I called my job, and I talked to that Tom guy, the manager, and I told him what was up, and he hemmed and hawed, and then he said he needed a few days to think about this, and that I need to get some fucking sleep, and that we would revisit the conversation after I got some rest. So he said, whenever you get some good rest, and some food in your belly, and you're feeling kind of normal again, call me back, or I'll call you in 3 days. Okay. And I said, all right. And then what was else he said? He said, I need you to do something for me every day. He was like, I need you to call me every day, whether I answer the phone or not. If I don't, leave me a voice message. But he's like, tell me one thing that you're doing for your recovery today and 3 things you're grateful for every single day. And then he said he wanted me to pray every day, whether I believe it or not, in anything. He's like, just say it to whatever. Say it to the air. Speak as if there may be something bigger than you out there, is what he said. He's like, but that one's on you. I can't monitor whether or not you're praying. But he's like, I want you to do that. I was like, okay, I'm writing this down. And then he's like, and then I want you to call and set up therapy. You've been talking about doing that for 3 years. You never did it. Fucking set up therapy and get that going. I said, all right. After I talked to my job and set up therapy, I ended up not being all fucked up anymore. Like, my psychosis was over. I actually ended up feeling really good that day. I got the whole house cleaned. I felt way like a completely different person just from shedding that baggage, from the secrets that I was keeping. Like he said, like he said, honesty and accountability. That was my first experience with the power of those 2 things. And then, I called him every day for the next 3 weeks before he answered his phone. And I would leave sometimes 2, 3 voice messages because it would cut me off and I wasn't done yet. So I would call back and I'd be like, oh, sorry, and I'd finish what I was saying. But I was like really feeling positive. I was hitting multiple meetings a day. He finally answered his phone after like 3 weeks and he's like, you really fucking doing this thing? Because I wasn't telling him one thing I was doing for my recovery every day. I was usually telling him like a few things that I was doing for my recovery that day. Like, I'd really just dove into it from that point. So yeah, it was that gift of desperation that you talked about.
Well, and I love that. So that makes me think of like, so now, I work with newcomers and, I'll hear newcomers and then they are the most important person in the room. So like my total focus, I'm hearing them. I'm not just listening, I'm hearing. And when I start having, phone calls or chats with them or staying after the meeting and talking, I can gauge right away if they're ready. If they're ready to even try surrendering. Because the key for me that I've learned is I can't help you. You have to want to help you.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do, walk the walk, like I just got to sit back and wait. And it's so frustrating. In the beginning, that was really hard for me to do because I knew that there's this other side. But if they're not ready and they're answering, they're responding with, all the reasons why things aren't going well or all the reasons why they can't do the things to move forward, I know that they're stuck. And that's where that desperation piece, I remember hearing, the gift of desperation. I hated that term. I'm like, why would that be a gift? I don't get it.
Right.
Until I got that most desperate moment and I surrendered and I said, that's it. I'm going to do. You tell me what to do. I'm going to do all those things. So it's frustrating to be still, when I'm like, let's do this. And they're like, well, I don't think I can.
Right.
Because I have these things. And I'm like, nope, it's going to be a while.
I used to...
I'm ready when you are.
I used to struggle with that shit, like feeling like I'm doing something wrong if what my help wasn't helping. I think there's a lot to be said to be able to develop the mindset that I'm only responsible for the effort and not the outcome, and that again, like my sponsor would always say, like when I would be doing that. It's been a couple of years since I really have struggled with that, but when I'd be doing that and I'd be like really just fucking obsessing about a person that I had been putting a lot of energy into and that just ghosted me the fuck out. And I'm like, I thought we were just like getting super tight and what the fuck? So now this hurts real bad. It hurt me real bad. I'm a very sensitive person sometimes. And he would be like, did you stay sober? Yep. He's like, well, then it's fucking working, dude. Yeah. He's like, you're not responsible for somebody else, or what they do, or the progress that they make. And there's a lot to be said about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you just opened, we could just keep going because there's a whole bunch of things I'd love to say about this. So let's move on. Let's move on to question number 3.
Oh.
You ready?
All right.
Okay. We still have the Facebook memes part.
Oh, that's right. All right.
Coming up, so we gotta keep things going. You might have to come back on again for part 2. Okay, question number 3.
I can do this for days.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Who, and I mean a person, truly inspired or motivated you to find recovery? Was there that one key person that you're like, man, I want what they have? And that, in tune, got you to really feel like you could do this thing. Was there one person that you can think of?
No, I think I was going to meetings despite the fact that I thought it was a cult, despite the fact that I thought you guys were all full of shit, despite the fact that I had severe trust issues that were crippling and I had no intent of letting you know me or trying to get to know you. I kept going. And what had happened was I saw people change. And I don't mean one person, I just mean whoever was really doing it. I seen him change. And then I would see them and I would be like, my trust issues kicking in. I think they're full of shit or this is an act or whatever. So I would be watching you, man. If you were changing, I would be watching your ass because I'd be like, this is gonna fucking be, bullshit. And anyway, they kept growing. They kept learning. They kept changing. And at some point, after enough of that, after seeing enough success around me in the people, I finally really just became convinced that there was something to this program. No matter what program you work or whatever, they're all pretty much, you know, the same thing, just wrapped up in a different format or whatever. Any recovery pathway, you know, they all kind of like draw on parallel principles that they try to get you to apply to your life, and they benefit you, you know. So anyway, yeah, I seen enough of that, and then I seen them continue to grow. At some point I became convinced, and I was really willing to admit to myself that, like, the shit is working for them. Maybe it can work for me. It was that hope. I all of a sudden got the hope shot, but I'm a stubborn fuck through and through. So it took a long time before I felt the hope. And once I did, it was crazy, man, because I can remember that well. I was in the meeting. It was at Blaine, Alano in Minnesota, and I shared. It was a candlelight meeting. And
I just went to one last night. Shout out to Ashley's getting her 1 year today.
ooh, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Congratulations. That's huge. And I was sitting there at this candlelight meeting. I had never shared in there. A lot of those people probably recognized my face because I was going there for months, but I didn't share ever before that day. And I did. I shared, and I let it out, and I was talking about, you know, the stuff with my kid, and that I couldn't see him, and the pending case for the court, and the charges, and the fact that I might go to prison for a while, and I was just laying it out there, and I just said that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I needed your help. I was like, I need your guys' help. And dude, after that meeting, I think somebody paid for me to go to Perkins, because they were like, look, we're going to Perkins. You're coming with. And I was like, I ain't got no money, dude. And I'm all like, you know, looking at the ground, looking at my feet, kicking rocks and shit. And they're like, nah, dude, you're coming with. And it all started from there, man, because they surrounded me after that meeting.
Yes.
I ended up with a whole bunch of new phone numbers and a whole bunch of Facebook friends, you know, that I didn't have before. And it all started from that. Well, I guess didn't start, but that's when the change started.
Yeah.
Was from that one. Finally, I was like, there's hope, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for help. Like, what the fuck?
That's what's up.
I'm going to try to do this shit and see if it can work for me, basically, you know?
Oh my gosh, and there's something just about when the lights get turned off and nobody's can see you, and I go there quite frequently on Saturday Night Candlelight just because that is my vent all meeting. That's where, like, my mask is off, and I don't have to worry about being a leader or a role, you know, like a role model or any of these things. I can just be like me. And
Well, you should feel that way at any meeting.
well, you
Just
know, I shared my story recently at Blaine. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I share my story all the time at treatment centers, but that's a room full of strangers. I love doing that. That's great. And those are my peoples, and I love that.
Yeah, there's a different
area.
element when you have
But when
accountability because it's
it's
people
people I
know
see every day. I was terrified at first, and but honestly, I just, and I didn't even share my whole story. Like, after I cracked the third joke and nobody's really laughing and they're just looking really like deer in the headlights, I'm like, okay, we are going to wrap this up. Let's talk about the hope. Let's talk about the good things.
That's hilarious.
After the meeting, actually, after I shared my story, one woman, she was so sweet. She came up. She held my hands for like 3 minutes. She put her forehead to my forehead. I'm like, it's okay, Alice. I'm okay.
I think
that was a long time ago.
I would have got a little creeped out by that.
No, she's so sweet.
No,
But
you must have knew her.
Yes, and I think she was just. But see, now I live in this happy, joyous, free state, right? And I am. I'm like Mahan. I'm just positive energy, and some people want to punch me. I get it. This is too happy, too happy. But you know, I came from dark days, and I spent a lot of years in not happy places, and so it was kind of nice to like share that side of me that I think people have no idea, and it was great because then they got to see where the fuck I came from.
Right.
that it wasn't smiles and rainbows for a very long time in my life. And yeah, there's just something about that venting and that really sharing some real truth, no matter what anyone thinks. And I highly recommend, especially the candlelight meeting, or just a meeting where you feel safe, So that trust aspect, is kind of interesting.
Muhana said, Bridge, whether you like it or not, you're a role model and a leader now. Deal with it, Goofy.
Muhana, see?
I like this dude.
He's good vibes. I know. He's wonderful. Okay, so on that note, let's see.
I was trying to look to see if Sarah was listening or commented on what's the worst character defect.
I want her to so bad.
Yeah, babe, if you're listening, you gotta throw in the comments. Let us know what's my worst character defect or whatever.
Because we're putting it on blast for sure. Okay, well that was it. That's the hot seat. You did well.
Thanks.
Yeah, sound fine. You feeling good?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
That was good.
I got a little and sorry if I triggered anybody out with the graphic details in the low point story, but I just felt compelled to, and I have this thing. It's just this raw honesty thing. I mean, some people love it, some people hate it, but
I'm sorry, you're not sorry.
No. But I would hate to make anybody feel some type of way. I'm not even gonna lie. When I was telling that story, I could almost taste the dope. For real. Because I was thinking about it, and it made my skin feel funny and shit. I have all these physiological responses to that. Some people call that craving, and hell yeah, I guess, because before that would have been a hardcore craving, making me want to get high. Mm-hmm. But today I'm not, I don't want to get high, but I still have those physiological things happen to me if something reminds me of it, just trigger shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the physical triggers are pretty intense when you bang, and I banged for a lot of years, so yeah.
Well, here's how I decipher, because I feel like that obsession for me has lifted, and how I know that is I don't have those cravings anymore. But I like to tell the women in my meetings and stuff, those thoughts and those urges, they're always gonna be there. That's how my brain is, it's wired. But they're just that. But being able to recognize those thoughts and those urges right away, I'm able to just ride the wave of that urge all the way through, because I know when I go, and it's been 2 years. I mean, that obsession for me really has been lifted. But I would get fearful to a craving where my mind is starting to go into planning mode. And so that's how I decipher the two. So the two, it's thoughts and urges they're gonna happen. That's just gonna happen. I don't want any newcomer to think, oh, you're never gonna want to. I go out, I see people enjoying themselves. I'm like, oh, well, that looks nice.
Right.
For a couple minutes, I'm like, yeah, I know where that leads to.
Right.
1,000.
Or on a hot day, I'm yeah, an ice cold beer does sound good, right about now. But then I just gotta play the tape through. I'm I always say, if I smoke a joint, I'm going to get cotton mouth, and then I'm going to think a drink sounds good. But after I have a few beers, a pile of rocks and a bag of needles sounds fucking best idea ever. So that's just stupid. And I know that's where it goes for me. I'm not going to be satisfied with just
one is too many.
And 1,000 is
and
never
1,000 is never enough.
Never.
Those old annoying sayings. That's so true. Okay. Okay, so our last segment, I've affectionately titled Live Facebook Memes. I'm just a meme person. They're just so, short, little, humorous joy, packages of joy. I love the memes. And so, during the week...
She's pumped about this, you guys.
Yes! Well, and I kind of failed on this tonight, actually, I'll be honest. So I didn't get some good ones during this week, but I've been really busy. So during the week, if I find memes that are posted that are just, for whatever reason, I'll screenshot them. You like that sound effect there? And
yeah, it did. It sounded exactly like my phone.
Yeah. And then I'm going to flash them to you. And like Facebook, you can give the thumbs up or heart, say you love it or laugh out loud. And you're free to comment too. So it's live Facebook memes, live in person.
That you guys can't see.
This is the real reason I had to have you come in person.
See, it would be cool if you could do it where you flashed the meme for your audience on StreamYard,
It would
so
be
at
better.
least they could see the fucking meme.
I thought about like posting them after the fact.
I know you can do it.
I'm not going to
Because
attempt
those
it
guys,
tonight.
well, you got to play with it because you learn how to operate StreamYard. I'm no expert. I don't know how to do it. But they were
You're
doing
right.
that shit on Thursday night. They were
Yes.
popping up all sorts of stuff on there, and I'm like, dude, that's cool.
Okay, I'm going to invite you to keep me accountable to that. By next week, Jason,
You just got to learn.
I'm going to make that happen.
I bet you if you click on the like settings or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the menu thing in the StreamYard, it probably has a help or something.
Oh, it has all those fancy
where
things.
it'll actually play you a video and show you how to do it, or just YouTube. Like, how do I do this on there? And I guarantee
Yes.
you'll get 100 tutorial videos.
I know that stuff's out there, but I have enough stuff packed in my brain, and I'm going to give you all the reasons. But I just said, you got me. Next week, I'm going to flash these. I want to try to make that happen.
Because you guys are just going to have to deal with her describing.
You are going to be describing them. That's the best part.
All right, I'll describe
And I
them.
think most of them are actually just words. But for whatever reason, I liked them. We're going to talk about them. And I find that it's humorous and delightful. Okay.
Delightful.
Are you ready? Let's start out with, so describe the picture first before you read. Okay.
Okay, let's see. So this is a
larger child, maybe.
It's an overweight female with 3 plates in her lap. Looks like I don't even know, like some kind of like custard thing, and then like a big plate of pancakes with a huge pile of whipped cream on it, and like maybe a casserole or another cake. I think they're all. They might all be
Food's
like,
irrelevant.
they
It's
might-
just a
not
lot of
really.
food. It's
They
a lot of food.
Anyway, she's got a whole gang of cakes on her lap, and it says Netflix murder documentary with like it's saying, you know, with those ones where they'll say like somebody who tries to write a conversation. So they'll be like, bridge,
Quotes.
and then say something, and then me, and then say something. So that's what it says. It says the Netflix murder documentary is saying, but they left one single strand of hair behind. And then it says me, fucking idiot. Okay. That was horrible. I feel bad for you guys. Like, that was probably painful. I guess, like, what...
It's great.
If it makes me think of anything, it just makes me think of how somebody can sit there. It's like when somebody's watching a football game on TV or hockey or something, and then they're like Mr. fucking expert, and they're ripping apart the people on the field, or like the officials' call or whatever it is, and they're like, "You're no expert, dude. You're sitting here vegging out and, you know,
You idiot.
gaining weight on your couch, and you think you're an expert," type thing. I guess, I don't know.
Yes. And I found it great because I know friends that watch these criminal shows, right? And they're telling me all these ways that people got caught and what they did and what they didn't do. When you commit a crime, you're not thinking about, clearly, all the evidence and all these things. And they just make it sound like it should have been common sense. Have you committed a crime, my friend? Probably not. So just get off your little pedestal right there.
Like, anybody that's watched enough of these shows knows how to get away with murder.
Leave a strand of hair. What are you thinking, you fucking idiot? I'm sorry. I found that very humorous.
How did you miss that?
Okay, and I gotta say an extra thank you, Jason, because today's Super Bowl. And you're here. I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that.
Well, you're welcome, because I give no fucks about football.
Oh, good. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on football after the 98 season of the Vikings. I was like, that's it. I quit being a fan. I fucking hate football.
Yeah, it's not even our team.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't hate it. I enjoy a game once in a while, but it's not like I make it priority.
Whole day, yes.
I don't make it a priority in my life to catch games. Next one here says, it's just a quote or something. It says, the most important parts of the Super Bowl are the commercials and the food. I really don't care who makes the most baskets. That's pretty good.
That's me.
Good. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, is your team winning? They go into the different teams, and like I'm like, And I know who's playing for the halftime show. I'm like, did you know Eminem and Mary J. Blige, they're sober? Did you know that?
Yeah.
And they're just like, I don't care. I'm
Right.
like, I don't care about your baskets either.
Or you ever, like, I think some movie or something where it's like they score a touchdown on the TV and the lady's trying to, like, act like she's into it or enjoying herself. So she's like, home run! And he's like,
Go!
they just look at her sideways like, what the fuck? What you talking about?
Okay.
All right, this one's showing a gallon of milk. The expiration date says February 14th, SU07. And it says, well, at least someone is going to be spoiled on Valentine's Day.
And this is true. Are you going to be spoiling someone special tomorrow?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a
Sarah.
secret?
No, it's not a secret at all. Everybody knows. Everybody knows me and Sarah got this thing going on. It's called love.
Oh, yes. I'm an anti-love person right now. I'm single. But no, I think that's great. And I think, did you already give her gifts, or are you going to give her gifts tomorrow?
No, she would like that I would have given it to her like a week ago, because she is horrible about waiting for gift season. Like, anytime a holiday's coming up, she wants to give you your shit way early because she's too excited.
I'm like
and then
that too.
she's like, she'll ask me, usually at least a couple times, like, if she can get her present. And I'm like, hell no, dude. You're waiting.
Yeah.
Like, that's the rules.
Yes. And it makes it so much more worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
right?
cool, like, with Christmas, let's say, doing the, like, one or
Night
two the
before.
night before thing,
Yep.
and open the rest on Christmas or some shit. But hell no, dude. Like, she will, like, keep giving them to you way early.
I'm like her. I'm so like that. It's terrible.
It's really quite funny. I get a lot of comedic value out of it. Okay, so this next one says, word of the day, asshole. I've seen this before. It says it's a noun. Someone who constantly asks you for advice, then always does the exact opposite. And I love that, because there's, to me, it's like, you know, it's the most common thing, especially in recovery, you know. And it is what it is, man. I mean, I think we're all that way. We have to
Yes.
learn by beating our own head into the same fucking wall 100 times. Didn't I say earlier, I'm like, these things are going to continue to repeat themselves in your life until you learn the lesson that you were supposed to learn in the first place. You're going to continue to be put in situations where that lesson should be learned again. It takes me a lot of times. And then back to what Will said, failure. The greatest growth, the greatest lessons, they're all learned. The greatest successes, they're all achieved through a series of failures. So, yeah, that's, I mean, it's funny, you know, asshole. That's funny shit. But that's, Will said it, man. That's the way it's got to be done. That's just like the best way to learn. We got to keep doing the opposite of what people tell us for a while. Before we're like, wow, they were so smart.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Will says fail forward. I think that's the best part that I like, is to fail
Yeah, I like
forward.
that too. I never heard that before.
Yeah, Justin told me that too. And so that, and this just made me think of, like, especially, you know, I will never, ever, ever, okay, I can't say never, but it's 99% most likely I'm not going to say, like, I told you so. But what I like to do is just keep having a conversation.
Yeah.
Ask them why they made those decisions. Ask them why, but, you know, I'll even bring up, well, didn't you mention that you thought that this might happen? Okay, so now how do you feel about how things went down?
Right.
Okay, you know, just trying to get them to get that piece themselves, because yes, if I tell them not to do something,
Right.
they got to go do research, and
Well,
then
you
it just
gotta
makes
be
it
able to-
harder.
you
And that
gotta
was
be
me.
with curiosity and let them tell you, right? Like, you could say, I told you so. You could point the finger. You could, you know, but all you're doing is shaming them, and you're really going to make them feel like they can't turn to you, right? Like,
Right.
or that you're
Exactly.
not providing a safe space. It's become hostile. Yeah, I think it's key. I often, I'll do the same thing. Like, curiously, I'll be like, well, how did that work out for you? You know, what did you learn? And usually they learned exactly what, you know,
Well, most of the time,
I tried to
they already
teach
know it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
They're telling me the reason it's a bad idea, but they still go do it anyway.
Yep.
I mean, that, and I'm not even just talking about using. I'm talking about relationships and.
Well, the heart wants what the heart wants. Codependency is going to lead people to do. These are a lot of times. I think they're habits that they die hard. They're very ingrained into a person's personality and the way that they handle situations.
They're cycles. They're patterns of thinking.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, people couldn't understand, like, kept going back. Like, even though it was awful and miserable and, like, painful, like, that's what I've been used to since I was a child. Like, I'm used to it. It's comforting. Even though it's so effed up to a normie to, like, for them to understand that. But I'm like, but that feels comfortable to me, being miserable. That's how it was. So, that's why I love my recovery peeps, because I don't have to explain the craziness. They just get it. They're like, yep, every one of us. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another fun one.
Oh, okay. This one is another quote. It says, "Be so positive that negative people unfollow you in real life and on social media."
That's true. That's facts. My
Dude,
friend has to go down, and I'm like, oh shit, I lost 2 more. What happened?
I feel like sounds amazing, but it's never gonna happen. You're gonna always have the closet haters,
Yes.
and the people that want to shit on your posts, and
DK? Drink killers?
it is what it is,
That's what I
man.
call
I mean, haters are gonna hate. I always tell people that are dealing with that shit and that it's really getting to them, like, if you got haters, then you're doing something right.
There you go. Well, and all the, they say when they're pointing the finger at you, they got 3 fingers pointed back at them. Because now I've learned, I've read the 4 Agreements. Have you read that book?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so that's like key, because
Don
don't take
Miguel
it.
Ruiz.
Yes. Actually, I totally, I don't know what it was that changed my life, because I really do try to follow those agreements. I started new agreements, and don't take things personally, right? But most of the time when someone says anything to you, it's really a reflection of what's going on inside their own little dream world, right? Or what's going on in their own head. So even if they're paying you, good or bad, he says, good or bad, even if they're paying you a compliment, it's really because inside they're feeling good about themselves.
Right.
If they say, like, especially when females especially come at me with some negative shit, I'm like, I'm actually nice, and I'm like, so what's going on with you? Like, tell me what's going on, because I know that you're not like this usually, and I'm good on my shit now. So I'm like, well, I know this is not about me. I'm just going to disregard what you just called me. And I give a pause and a little space, but I come back to them if I care about them, whatever. And we talk about it, because I know that it's not me.
Yeah. Well, it's always the way somebody treats you is a reflection of them, and it has everything to do with them, and usually nothing to do with you. And then conversely, when something bothers somebody else, it's usually because it's something that they don't like about themselves that they're seeing in you, right? Like,
Yes.
or vice versa. Like, if I'm getting pissed at you, it's probably because you're exhibiting something that I don't like about myself, which is weird.
I know. I really have to reflect on some of those things sometimes. Okay. This one's just good.
All right, this one's got it's like one of those things that looks like an old time ad, animated picture of a guy holding up a cup of coffee like he's
Cup of Joe.
gonna give you a cheers or something, and it says, "Meetings and no step work is just coffee and bullshit." It's true.
'Tis true, because you gotta do the action.
Yeah.
You gotta do the things. I like how people say, just talk the talk for a while, at least until you can walk the walk. And, there's that fake it till you make it, but I've heard now, I changed it, and I like the faith it till you make it.
Faith it till you make it.
Faith it till you make it.
Literally never heard that before.
I don't like the word fake. And I like that. Someone else said that. It's not my wisdom, but faith it till you make it.
I like that. It sounds cool.
Right?
Hell yeah.
I mean, I just kept doing the things that I was, suggested to do. I just kept forcing myself to do them, even though it was uncomfortable. I was fucking miserable. I hated life. I hated myself. But somehow, and I can't, pinpoint, it was a bunch of spiritual experiences for me. But at some point, I got to that awakening point, and it was like, wow, I really am doing this thing. It just happened.
Right. Well, and to your point, it's like when you get that hope is the catalyst to making a meaningful change, right? So once you get the hope, it's because you've developed some kind of faith or belief that like recovery works, right? And so you can follow somebody's suggestions and do, because every single one of those suggestions in the beginning are not going to make any sense. They might piss you off, or you might be like, hell no, you know, but you're desperate enough and you have that hope, and that's enough to push you into just saying, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to follow your suggestion. And again, you know, I talked about that earlier too. And now you're going to experience a benefit and you're going to be like, huh. And then it just goes from there. But yeah, I don't know. I like that though.
Yes.
It's just coffee and bullshit.
Yes. Well, and I think for me too, I just got to say, like, for hope, you know, I didn't have no hope. I lost all my faith. But I think because that one woman, through 7 years, she saw me go through all the struggles and keep shitting on myself and shitting on other people and just effing up, and I just couldn't get it. But the fact that she wouldn't give up on me, it kept me coming back, and it kept me, now I see it as like finding just the possibility, some hope that I might be able to really do that thing. But it took one person for her to give me that unconditional support and love. Because if she would have gave up on me, I don't know if I could have done it. Everybody else fucking did. So
Right.
So hope, it's like that's so fundamental.
I think I had to burn it all down. And I mean,
Yes, but that's, yeah.
and then it's funny too, because if you think about that in those terms, like, I would burn it all down and then I would move. And I would think I'm going to start fresh and I'm going to do it all different, and I can
Geographical changes.
I can do whatever I want. I can be whoever I want. No, because you bring it all with you. So, you know, wow. It's so weird how these conversations, they always seem to go this way, where it's like you always come back to another point. Like, the things we talk about continue to like reinforce the other thing we talked about, or bring back up the other thing we talked about. But it's like you do this stuff and you keep on trying these new fixes. I would burn it down. I would hit another bottom, and then I'd try something my way and it wouldn't work. And now I'd be back at a bottom, you know, and it's fuck. Those things are going to keep reappearing in your life until you learn the lessons you need to learn.
Yes. I used to do that fear, forget everything and run. And it didn't matter where I went to, because guess who was always there?
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
And now I do the other fear. Face everything and rise. Rise up to that.
Rise.
Yes. Okay, last one, and I wanted to end, well, at least end the memes with this one.
All right, this one says, don't offer a lecture to a person who needs a hug. Absolutely. It reminds me of that empathy versus sympathy video Brene Brown had made. And it's basically, you know, shows at the end where, like, sometimes the best thing you can say is, gosh, I really don't know what to say, but I'm here for you. And it shows the bear sit down next to the other character or whatever.
A goat lady.
Yeah, and then, like, and then
And a fox.
her rain cloud got bigger, and it was raining on both of them, and they just sat there in silence. Like, that reminded me of that image. You know, just your presence sometimes is all that you need, or all a person would need to help them realize they're not alone. You know, like, I think sometimes less is more, and no matter what we say, it's just gonna blow up, because they're not even equipped to give you an adequate response, right? If they try to respond at all, it's gonna come across a certain type of way, and then if they don't respond, then that's gonna also come across like they're being fucking rude or something. It's gonna probably end in a problem. Sometimes you just gotta sit down next
And it's
to them.
okay to have silence.
Yeah.
I feel like that piece can be very powerful. And, like, I think where I'm at now, I find just listening, just genuinely listening. I get frustrated with people, you know, myself, you know, that, how are you doing? But I make a point after I ask that to listen for 2 or 3 minutes, you know, at least give somebody 5 minutes and really fucking listen to how they're doing.
Right.
It's really not that hard, but nobody does it, you know? And, like, so, I mean, I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, like, they'll say, how you doing, but
Yeah.
they don't really want to hear it.
No! So I feel the back
So
of
you
I'm like, how are you? doing? How are you doing? Tell me.
Yeah. You start telling them, and they're like, instantly,
watch your face.
they just walk away in the middle of what you're saying something, and you're like, well, fuck you too, man.
I watch their eyes glaze over, like they're lost. Right. Squirrel.
They're like, fuck, dude.
I know.
Why did I ask?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
But I really do. Like, if I say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I get the quick answers, but I'm listening. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, that's all you got, okay.
Did you ever see that TV commercial back in the day where it's like, they're at like a cocktail party, and one guy walks up to another guy, and he's like, how you doing? And he starts telling him about his like hemorrhoids and his anal leakage or something. And then at the end of the commercial, it was like, I think it was for like Fairview or Alina or something. Because it was like, not everybody wants to hear about medical problems, but we do. And it was like the nurse line or something.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
That shit was hilarious. Yes. I don't know why, but you just reminded me of it, so.
Well, and my mind went to one of my favorite commercials was also Snicker commercials. Where are you hangry? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So you know what I do to people I used to do this to people at work or just people in my life when they having a crabby day? I secretly leave a Snickers bar on their desk.
Nice.
But you know what? If they don't know those commercials and they don't get it, they're just, either way, it's like a win because it's like chocolate and they don't know that it was me, so they can't like get mad at me.
I'm sure most people would get it.
I'm like, you're just having a hangry moment. Eat some chocolate. It's just going to help you. It'll fix you.
The Joe Pesci one was probably my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Or maybe Roseanne. That one was pretty good too.
Yes. Those are so brilliant. I think you could go on YouTube and find those. Yeah. But I just wanted to share this. It's not a meme, but it is along the lines. Instead of saying, because this was really such a good point, it says, have conversations that go beneath the surface. So above the surface, it shows the questions are, did you watch the new show? How's work going? How are you? But if you want to get under that surface, I don't think these are that deep of a question, but these will actually, I feel like, get some real answers, and I use them a lot, especially on my kids, actually. But what does your inner child need to hear? What are you grateful for? I mean, that one's a big one. When was the last time you cried? And what gives you joy? That a lot of times when I work with newcomers, I'm like, what's one thing that brings you joy? Like, I have a joy list, right?
Right.
So I know they're really in a dark place when they can't think of one thing.
Right.
And so I will take that extra time, male or female, to message, text them, and help them find one fucking thing. Because I remember being in that dark moment and those dark days, and I couldn't find one fucking thing. I was so angry and so sad and so miserable. But once I found that one thing that I could at least get a little bit of joy from, I feel like that's what kind of helped me start getting out of the dark place.
Right.
So,
well, there's a lot to be said about that, because it is, when people are in a state of perpetual darkness, they don't have any gratitude, because and it's not because they don't have anything to be grateful for, it's because they are only focused on the negative shit that's going on, right? Mm-hmm. Their focus is elsewhere. And my sponsor would always say that to me, like, if I'm in a moment and I'm tripping, he'll be like, so what's different about like this moment than yesterday or a week ago? And in most of those situations, nothing's different. I had the exact same circumstances last week, and I was in a good mood. So why is it fucking getting all on top of me today? I don't know, He would always just make me stop and like think and reflect about that, because basically it's like comes down to like, what are you focusing on? Like, you need to remember that no matter what you're feeling, that you have the power to choose what you're giving your attention, what you're focusing on, and that really has such a profound impact on your mental health and all that shit. So it's like, find that gratitude, find your joy, right? Attitude of gratitude, man, goes a long way. I can't say enough about that.
Yes, and even affirmations. They wanted me to do these affirmations. I didn't believe them. I'm like, none of these apply to me. But I finally found like this list of like 100, and I could pick off one or two that I could say that I actually believed.
Yeah.
That was affirming. I was so rebellious and so hard-headed too, and I just didn't want none of it. Get your joyous shit away from me.
I think Louise Hay, when I went to New Beginnings in Minnesota, they had a, one lady who was like a spiritual advisor or something, but she showed us like The Secret, and she showed us stuff by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and she showed us stuff by Louise Hay, and it's very like stuff that's focused on that kind of stuff, like mirror work, hold a gaze with yourself. Dude, that was fucking impossible for me at that time.
Same.
But I would, and I'm not saying I would practice it every day, but every once in a while when I was really feeling some type of way, overwhelmed, whatever, I would like go to rinse my face off, and I would find myself randomly just trying to hold a gaze or talking to myself in the mirror. And I mean, that shit does work, it's, it seems kooky and really, it makes you feel uncomfortable and stuff, but I think, too, there's a reason that in the how, it's like the O is open-mindedness. We need to be open-minded about shit, even if it sounds weird or fucking crazy, like, give it a try.
It works if you work it.
Yeah, even if a suggestion doesn't make sense or it pisses you off, just follow the fucking suggestion and see what happens. A lot of times you're going to find you get a benefit, I know my girlfriend, she writes affirmations on her mirror.
Oh, I love that.
So she's got like a few things, like that it says on her mirror that she just wrote with like a marker or whatever, and she tries to say it. I'm sure she probably doesn't say it to herself every day either, but
it's a good reminder, though.
Yeah, and it's there, right?
And
like in your
that.
face where you look every day, and you can. Yeah, I mean that stuff can't hurt.
No, it's worth a shot. And your old ways of thinking ain't working, so get outside yourself. And I cannot believe it's already 9:36, Jason.
Boom.
Wow! See, this is what's up. See, like when I have a guest, I can tell usually the body language or just the things they're saying. They're like, "Come on, wrap it up." But if I get someone like you who's just like we get the program, we get what we're doing, and we're on the same page. I mean,
yeah,
it's like what's that great quote? It's something like, "If you sit with the warriors, the conversation changes," or something like that.
I feel never heard that.
Yes, I said. Well, you don't listen to my show, but I always try.
It made me think of that movie Warriors.
You sit with the warriors, the conversation's different.
Warriors, come out and play. I don't know if you know that movie or not.
I do not. I'll be honest.
Well, you should, because you're about my age, but...
I just turned 40 in August.
That's your homework assignment. You got to go watch the Warriors.
That and... Next week, listeners, be excited. I'm pretty determined. I'm going to figure out a way to actually post the memes. You're right. I should have been doing that a long time ago. Yeah. I get a little lazy. I procrastinate on some stuff. So I'm going to make that happen. I was trying to find... so when I shared my story, I did end it with this magical quote. It says, everyone wants to be the sun to lighten up someone's life, but why not be the moon to shine in someone's darkest hour?
Yeah, I love that. And that's a really pretty picture of the moon reflecting over the water.
I think the moon has more power than the sun.
It definitely, when it's full like that in that picture, it makes people go crazy, right?
Yes. Actually, yes. There's scientific facts on that.
No, it definitely does.
But that's what I feel like we do in recovery is, we will go in your darkest hour and be there for you. And that's just it.
And you start to glow, right? You get that glow and you radiate this positive energy. People can't sometimes help but get wrapped up in that energy, and be affected by it. And that's why like sharing your story is so important, like we were talking about certain ways to advocate. Like I think that podcasting is an awesome way to advocate, and there's limitless potential to the amount of people it could reach, because once it's out on the internet, it's just out there for anyone to grab and listen to. So I mean, you could fuck up and go relapse and die, and for years to come, random people could hear your story of when you were doing good and get the hope that they need that pushes them to make positive change. I mean, it can continue to benefit people forever. So,
well, here's a positive outlook for my podcast. My plan, or the whole real initial reason, is I have 5 children. They're younger, and I want to leave this like legacy, because right now they're not in a place to have conversations about my past. And,
right.
I mean, the door's open, but they don't really. So they don't get to see me like at full capacity, because I'm so passionate about
how old
recovery.
are your kids?
They range from 3, 5, 11, 16, about to be 18.
Oh, well, the older ones you could talk to.
Yeah,
but
we
yeah,
had a
like
little
my son's
bit
10, and I'm
conversations.
like, dude, last night I'm in the room, doing a recording, and I'm like, my mom was chiming in on it, and it was cool.
Aww.
It was awesome that she was on there. But then when I was done, I came out in the living room, and I'm like, so how much of that did you watch? Because I talked about surviving sexual abuse for a big part of that program last night, and yeah, I was like kind of tripping, because I was like, fuck, dude, like, was Wyatt listening to that? And she said he only listened to like 5 minutes or something.
Yes.
But it wasn't that part, and I'm like, thank God. But I would hope and think that she would have the, the mental capacity to say, hey, you don't need to be hearing this. You're 10 years old, buddy.
Oh, that makes me feel bad, because my 11-year-old, she just turned 11. I was having her listen to the shows originally, and she got bored. Now she don't listen anymore. And
oh,
doesn't
really?
care. But like this for me is like that full piece of me that they don't get to know yet. They don't get to see the side of me,
right.
And so like, and I'm feeling that passion right now. I'm on this high right now. I'm like addicted to recovery, and I'm all happy. But who knows where I'll be in 3 5. I might be grumpy, but I might need to take a step back. I need to like get out of the recovery arena completely. But I don't want to forget that fuel or fire, and I don't want my kiddos to like miss out on that piece either. And so they can listen to this later and be like, man, my mom was pretty rad.
Yeah.
They probably don't say rad. They probably got a cooler word.
Yeah, no, they stopped saying rad when we were 10.
I know, I just thrown it back now. Okay, well, thank you, Jason, for coming on. It's been such a pleasure. I get nervous when I don't like know a person on like a regular basis.
Yeah,
like you don't remember me from 8 years ago,
we did.
but I remember you.
Right.
But
She
nobody
said we
knew
did.
me.
I was like,
I see you running one of the cool folks.
oh yeah, okay.
Rolling with a
Shows where you know.
Look at that. You're
I'm a
successful.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, for Dave Brown. You just throw that out there. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
See, that's being just secure. You're secure in yourself, and I like that. I appreciate that.
She was a big reason why I was able to become that way. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I kind of see that StreamYard allows me to put people on timeouts. So if they're like putting weird stuff in the chats that I don't understand, I can just put them on timeout.
Oh yeah.
So I've had to do that a couple times. I didn't want to make you aware, but I think you brought some trolls with you, Jason.
For real?
Yes. They're gone though. I don't know, but
That's awesome.
Recovery Revolution Live came on and they said, "You guys are awesome, Jason. Do you ever take a night off?" That's hilarious. You've been all over the place. Like the last week, I've seen you just popping up everywhere.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
just
really
kind of
appreciate
worked out that way, you know. And I try to show up and do what I said I'm going to do. But it was just weird how it happened to work out that way. I mean, if I can say yes, I'll say yes. And if I do say yes, I'm going to try to show up, you know.
Well, and shit happens.
Yeah.
And like, it was funny because as you messaged me, or you tried to call me or whatever today, I'm like writing up the promo or whatever, you know, to put the word out. So that's why my first response is, "You're not canceling, are you? Can we just put some good shit?"
Please don't cancel.
So you're like, "No, I'm just whatever." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, because I just wrote a fucking paragraph. You know, I'm excited for the show. So that worked out for me. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, listeners.
My pleasure.
And let's get out of here and start this week off. And I will hit you guys up next week. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.
And end broadcast.